We're back again, people. In this video, we're going to be covering everything wrong with Dante in the Devil May Cry Netflix adaptation anime. If you haven't already, please go and check out my other videos, especially the review video where I cover pretty much every scene opening up the show till the end of the show. And there's a lot of these same pointers in here from that review, but we're going to go a little bit quicker in this video to not take up much of your time. Definitely check out the review for a more in-depth look at what I have to say. I do want to also say that I'm working on a Lady video as well, Everything Wrong with Lady, which will come out probably right after this video. So, first off, we've got no Ruben Langdon. I've got an entire video covering that, so definitely go check it out if you're interested. Next, we've got no Ebony and Ivory. Instead, we get these weak-ass handguns that fall apart like cobblestone. Brittle in his hand just crunches, just crumbles like a damn potato chip. Some reason, okay. Next pointer, we've got no style whatsoever. Do you remember that scene with the rabbit when he was firing that rocket into the school bus of children? Was I the only Devil May Cry gaming fan who anticipated Dante riding that rocket into that rabbit's face? But instead he just casually blocks it with Rebellion, which did get the job done, but it lacks the style that this character carries. And honestly, again, there's no style in this show. And then we've got Loss After Loss to Lady, which will be elaborated on more in Lady's video because apparently she's tankier than some demons. And it seems to me like the humans in this show are a lot stronger physically than the demons, which is crazy. They take as many hits as the demons, but they don't go down. It's just really weird. I'm telling you, watch the show and just watch how many times the humans are getting their asses kicked and the fact that they can survive, but the demons are so weak and so pathetic at the same time. It's crazy. Next, we've got, he doesn't eat enough pizza, nor strawberry sundaes for that matter, which you might view as a meme, but at the same time, Dante's pizza eating is a bit of a meme, and the fact that this series barely accounted for it is just kind of cringe. Like, we couldn't get one good scene where he's in there with pizza with no olives, crying because they put all, like, it just captures character a little bit. Next, we've got, he would willingly kill a baby in front of her mother. Demon or not, the mother didn't know. At least we have to assume that the mother had no idea. And also, whatever happened to the mother, because we actually never found out what happened to her. Is she dead? What happened? Did she find her baby? Because you have to presume that she believed that that demon was her baby, so where's her baby? It was kind of a little plot hole. But the fact that this show had Dante immediately going to slaughterhouse that child in front of his mother, is unrealistic. It's completely out of character. Never would he have done that, ever. Next, we've got, he takes a backseat to every single objective or obstacle in the show. For example, the scene where him and Lady reunite after Agni and Rudra are defeated. Guess what? The rabbit is on broadcast. He's video calling Lady, and our boy Dante sits in the background with his dick in his hand, just chilling, letting her be hear me fucking roar, boss babe. And Dante doesn't seem to want to get involved at all in the story or what's at stake. He just sits casually in the background because he's too stupid to figure things out. Lady, of course, and this will be part of her video, but I'll just mention it here, cracks the code on pretty much every plot in this show, including the fact that the rabbit needed his devil trigger to unleash the power, the gate to open it up. Anyways, we'll go ahead and move past that now. Dante fights with his fists in Devil Trigger. He hardly ever uses Rebellion in the entire show as well, on top of the fact that during Devil Trigger we don't actually see any kind of demonic power or any kind of new unique abilities. Apparently all he can do is throw his fists. So again, how do you fuck up Devil Trigger? How do you fuck it up? And I'm gonna leave it there because we got another Devil Trigger pointer later. Next, we've got, Dante would never have allowed himself to be captured by a group of Overwatch cosplay mercenaries. No, he would not. Next, we've got, Dante would not have punched a human so hard that his face folds inside out, as well as sending him through a brick wall. Again, the humans in this show seem to be tanks, and Dante would never have inflicted such punishment on a human character. Absolutely not. It's proven in canon. He wouldn't have done that. Next, we've got, Dante isn't self-aware of his superhuman abilities enough to come to the conclusion that he might be part demon. Again, he has to have this explained to him by Agni and Rudra and other characters, because apparently we have to assume that this obviously is an alternate timeline, alternate universe, but we have to assume, because we are shown, that he is at this point already a devil hunter for hire, so he is aware of demons as he hunts them, but he can't put two and two together that the fact of the matter is he has superhuman durability, superhuman healing, superhuman strength, superhuman speed. By the way, still loses the Lady. Whatever. Anyways, He has all of these capabilities, but he can't come to the conclusion that maybe I'm part demon. Again, he's been given, I'll get into this later, the Goku treatment, where they just dumbed him down. And while Goku was always a bit of a knucklehead, Dante has never been that. He's always been very charismatic, very nonchalant in the way he carries himself through what most would probably struggle with, because he's just that character. He gets through it with nonchalantness. That's why we love him. Next, we've got again, this is what I was going to touch on. Dante was never a moron in any of the games, but here he is portrayed with subpar intellect. Again, the Goku treatment. Next, we've got Dante seemingly forgets that he can recall his rebellion. We've seen this in the games. We've seen this in the original anime. Whenever he's disarmed, rebellion never comes back to him. It just kind of sits there. Whenever rebellion's not near him and he needs it, again, he seems to not be able to recall it, but for some reason, lady can recall her fucking handguns. But sure. Next, we've got Dante would not have allowed himself to be injected by Lady with a syringe. There is no chance that Lady would have pulled off a Dexter on Dante. It's no. Next pointer is he isn't funny whatsoever. Again, I mean, just look at the opening of the show with the jokes. It's unbelievable how bad the jokes are. Unbelievable. It's worse than shit. If you're a guy and you're watching this, brother, think about when you were a teen and then compare Dante's jokes to yours. You would have slayed pussy. It's unbelievably bad. Anyways, next we've got he's too emotional and not the nonchalant, composed guy we have all known him to be. And this show depicts him as extremely emotional. It's actually almost scary how unemotional Lady is, which I'll touch on in her video. But Dante seemingly is the human character in this show, which makes absolutely no sense. It's one thing. Look, I've covered this in another video too. You can go and check out my other Devil May Cry videos. I won't go into it, but one thing Adi Shankar claimed was he was going to portray the characters accurately. Yes, it would be an alternate timeline, alternate story, but the characters would carry themselves in the same light and they would portray at least relevance to their canon characters. And we see none of that in this series, and that's why it's so bad. It's not just the fact that it's an alternate setting, it's the fact that without Dante wearing a red coat and being called Dante, you would never think this is Dante. Anyways, next we've got he spends more than half of the entire series captured. Reference the original anime, how he pretty much walked out of that hell prison like a badass. Yes, that was a wonderful episode, by the way. In the original anime, Dante seemingly just kind of allows himself to be captured and put into this hellacious prison where it's being ran by demons and he's unarmed, and he just casually God, if you haven't seen that anime, go watch that anime, because honestly, I always viewed it as an average subpar game to anime series, but after this, that anime is great. It's actually so good. Go watch it. The way he just casually strolls on demons in that show, man, it's awesome. This one is probably my biggest problem with the entire show, which I didn't go into enough in my actual review, so I'll talk a little bit about it here. He seemingly has full control over his devil trigger, and I think I'm going to make this into its own video because there's so much I can say here. So, in the original game 3, when he unlocked Devil Trigger, he lost control. That demonic power, that demonic blood overtook his humanity. Whatever part of him that was human in that moment was lost when that form was activated. We see none of that in this show. None of that. He seemingly has full control over his Devil Trigger immediately. By the way, his Devil Trigger looks like a red Power Ranger or Transformer character. It's just so bad. But in 3, we see Virgil, who always shunned Dante as being weak and not seeking power. In this moment, though, when his DT was activated, Virgil, for a split second, may have been concerned. At the same time, he was almost proud of his brother, but in a sense, not really, because he couldn't control it. At that point, Virgil had already unlocked and controlled his. A bit of Goku and Vegeta. And in this series, we see a Devil Trigger where he seemingly has absolute full control. Now, if any of you have ever watched Inuyasha, do you recall, if you have, the scene where he unlocks his full demon and how he slaughtered a bunch of humans, innocent humans? That blood in him, and he almost killed his own friends. And then his badass Super Omega brother showed up and kind of cucked him, but Shishomer is awesome. Anyways, back on track. The fact that he has full control over his Devil Trigger, it just is so baffling to me. How do you fuck that up? You can't really recreate that scene. It's gone now. It wouldn't make sense the second time around if for some reason he doesn't have control. How do you fuck this up? And that's not even the best part. The best part is the fact that the form is stale with no aura. he's fighting Rudra in the sky, okay? And the sky is so blue. I've never seen such a blue sky in my personal life when I look outside. That sky is so sunny, so blue, so beautiful, but we are supposed to believe that there are two juggernaut demons battling it out up in the sky with zero aura, zero magic demonic energy, zero anything. It's the worst scene in the show, and it's the one that bothers me the most. Next, we've got zero character development because the entire anime portrays him as a Deadpool-styled character with zero aura. And then here we go, I was going to touch on this again, but I just did, so I won't. Speaking of aura, his devil trigger looks like either a red Power Ranger or a red Transformer. Yeah, so the fact that Devil May Cry 1 could give his devil trigger a more interesting look and more detailed and sharp visual to it, and it actually carried itself with an aura, but this show in 2025 couldn't, again, is a complete disgrace. Then I will talk about this. I didn't include this, but it just dawned on me that the government in this show had a handful of years to come up with technology that was able to incapacitate Dante. Unbelievably insult to his character's strength. We have to assume, based on the timeline, that the government just suddenly acquired this technology in a handful of years and that it can subdue a character such as Dante at his power level. It is just absolutely unbelievable how hard they cuck his character. Anyways, next we've got no showcasing of any of his direct styles such as Trickster or Gunslinger, and his choreographed fight scenes are horrible. We didn't even get a single aerial spin with his handguns. How do you not have at least one of these scenes of Dante doing an upside down aerial spin, firing away? How do you mess that up? Look, the problem with this is the original anime wasn't too action-packed, it was more story-driven, and it was dark. And that worked for it. This show was exciting because we had heard from Adi that this was going to be a much more action-focused anime, which he claims we haven't had much of in the year. So it was exciting to hear that news, but the action here was lackluster. We never seen Dante use any of his signature moves from the games. The problem with this is that the choreographed fighting, I guess, the sequences of events of how he battles and fights demons, it's all been laid out in the video games. All you had to do was actually play the games, see how Dante fights, see the moves he uses, see Trickster, see Gunslinger, see these aerial combat maneuvers that he's pulled off in the games as a regular move kit, incorporate that into the anime, make Dante Dante. You couldn't even do that. Even at a basic level, you couldn't even do that. So again, next thing is the last thing I'm going to mention for now. Maybe I'll do a part 2, but I don't really feel like talking about this too much more. The last thing is he apparently has zero hormones, racing through what's supposed to be a young pre-DMC Dante if we account for the timeline, even if it is alternate. Dante has always had titty posters, titty mags in the shop, and he would constantly flirt with pretty much any female character, even if it was a buttfuck ugly, big-ass, ugly demon. Actually, like, if it was a female, if the character was female, had titties, Dante was on it. In this show, he's pretty much asexual, lackluster thereof, of a young, pretty much late teen male, I guess, and it's just unbelievable. You can't have, and this will be touched on in the lady video, but lady doesn't even look like a woman. You cannot have beautiful women, and you cannot have men acting like young men in television or anime these days, at least in the West. Fuck American anime, it's garbage. If you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. We're going to be talking about Lady, so you take care.